This is Lynette, and I'm going to go first. Hopefully Lisa's on the other end of Bismarck.
Okay. I am here too. Sorry. Didn't unmute my mic.
Hi, Lisa. And I understand I need to just ask you to advance the slide. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Right, you can go ahead and advance. And I want to thank you all for the opportunity and appreciate the forethought in inviting us here to share on the healthcare side of things what's happening in the state. And hopefully it'll spark some interest and connection to the good work that's being done in research and how the next slide. First of all, just to start with some very basic terminology that is used commonly in all the work we're doing in the health IT world. Electronic medical record, electronic health record, personal health record, and health information exchange. For the most part, we're using EHR. You will see that. They're often interchangeable. Basically, the electronic medical record is your medical record, what would be in your paper record. An electronic health record would be something that has multiple pieces, like your radiology reports, lab reports, those type of things, and across healthcare sectors. But you'll see EHR for the most part, but they're fairly interchangeable. Personal health record is something that you would be entering on your own, and there are many web-based opportunities to do that, and health information exchange, which is what we are working on a statewide basis, not to be confused now with the new HIE acronym, which is Health Insurance Exchange. So just to add to our acronym world. Next slide. As a little background, the HITECH Act was the catalyst for the transformation and accelerating some of the work we're doing in the nation, actually, and also in our state. Prior to 2009, we had a system, still probably is there, but plagued with inefficiencies. And in 2004, there was an executive order from President Bush that everyone have an electronic health record by 2014. Now, that's only a few years away, but that was the start of it all. In 2009, we saw the HITECH Act as part of the Recovery Act with President Obama to carry on that executive order from 2004, and there were a number of federal opportunities made available to really accelerate the adoption of electronic health record and ultimately the exchange of health information within states and across the nation. Next slide, please. The next slide just provides a visual of what the intent is building an interconnected patient-centric care system. And ideally, being able to exchange that healthcare information within facilities and across the continuum of care for all of us. Now, those of you in the research and education field, but this is also for all of us as consumers. The end goal is making that patient-centric and be able to improve care coordination for all of us. Next slide, please. Some of the four main areas is the intent is resulting in improved quality, improved safety, and efficiency. We all know that health information is already exchanged and has been for a long time, but we also know, and usually everyone has a story of how it didn't work so well for yourselves or your family members. Even with well-intended healthcare facilities and healthcare professionals, it just isn't necessarily as efficient as electronic. Having said that, just because it's using technology doesn't mean it's perfect. It's not the magic bullet, because we know the information exchanged is only as good as the information that's put in. Next slide, please. So I mentioned earlier the HITECH Act and some of the federal funding opportunities that were made available across the nation to the states to accelerate the adoption of electronic health record. And there were a number of opportunities, three main opportunities that we have going on in North Dakota that we were successful in getting the funding into our state, and I'll highlight those. The first of which is the State Health Information Exchange Program. So that was a funding opportunity that all states had an opportunity to apply for. And Lisa will talk a little bit more at the end about the cooperative agreement and a few details about that. But basically, it is to develop strategic and operational plans into our state, for our state, to exchange health information electronically. The second one there, it mentions the technical assistance for regional extension centers. So you'll hear the word regional extension centers. Not to be, people got confused with the ag extension centers, and they maybe use that as a good example. The focus of the regional extension centers is to provide technical assistance to implement electronic health records. And I'll give you more detail on that as we go forward. Next slide, please. What I didn't mention, and at the top, there is an office of the national coordinator. So in our world, it's ONC, or ONC, and that is the coordinator for health IT funded programs and initiatives. And so all of those programs have come out of ONC or ONC. That just continues on the Regional Extension Center. The one that was funded to support North Dakota is a joint effort between Minnesota and North Dakota. The lead actually is the Medicare Quality Improvement Organization out of Minnesota, or Stratus Health. And that is three different entities. You'll see Key Health Alliance, and that is made up of Stratus Health, Scholastica, St. Scholastica in Duluth, and the National Rural Health Resource Center, out of Duluth. So those three make up Key Health Alliance. They were the lead applicant, and then the Center for Rural Health and the Medicare Quality Improvement Organization in North Dakota, which is the North Dakota Healthcare Review in Minot, are the partners in North Dakota that represent our stakeholders here in our state. Next slide, please. So the Regional Extension Center to serve our stakeholders to provide technical assistance is called REACH. That's the acronym here, serving North Dakota, Minnesota. And it just stands for Regional Extension and Assistance Center for HIT. And ideally, their goal is to support the adoption of electronic health record, because we know and the focus is primary care providers and the rural providers. They do provide some technical assistance to the larger facilities, but their main focus is to help in the rural sector and the primary care providers, the standalone that have challenges with workforce anyway. So that's REACH, the second ONC-funded opportunity in our state. Next slide, please. Then there was a series of opportunities because the workforce, we don't have the workforce, so it's a good idea to accelerate that adoption and implement electronic health record, but it's not an easy task. But we also know that there are not the workforce out there to support that work. We did a survey in our office 2 years ago. Actually just did a phone survey around the state of health IT coursework in our university systems, and I believe we found one class that had a project that did something with electronic health records. So while we have a lot of technology, a lot of information technology, we have health information management, we don't have health IT. And so these were some of the funded programs across the nation. There was a community college consortia, which I believe Cindy Brown from Lake Region State College presented this morning. If you didn't hear that, I would encourage you to look into it. Those are dollars made available for health IT certificates within 4 different roles, and they're to be completed within 6 months. So it's a nice opportunity to take a certificate class all online, to add that to your resume, and basically it's if you have an IT background but you don't have health background, it gives you some health background in health informatics and vice versa. There's also, let's see, next slide please. The other is a university-based program. So again, if you're remotely interested in the health IT world, there are still funding opportunities and scholarships. All the different universities have developed theirs a little bit differently, but I would encourage you to go to the ONC website to find out about those, because there are university-based programs wanting or providing dollars to for coursework in the health IT workforce curriculum, in addition to the community college. And then there was the curriculum development competency, just under the workforce field. Those are the ONC funded opportunities. Next slide, please. So what spurred all of the push to accelerate the adoption of electronic health records is also in the HITECH Act is our Medicare and Medicaid incentives to adopt electronic health records. So a few years ago it was a nice thing to do, and folks were very encouraged, but a little slower to adopt. But because now there are incentives to adopt an electronic health record, and there will be disincentives or penalties for hospitals and providers if they do not adopt electronic health record. A word, and it's way more than a word, the definition when it finally came out was 1,000 pages long on meaningful use. So it isn't enough just to purchase and implement an electronic health record. You have to be able to attest to the fact that you're actually using it in a meaningful way. And then there is, as you can well imagine from CMS and Medicaid, a laundry list of definitions of what meaningful use means. But meaningful use is something that we're all learning the details of. So they need to be meaningfully using it, and then there's a tier of incentives, and then by 2015, if they are not, they will be penalized with Medicare and Medicaid if they're not using it at that time. So that has really pushed that movement forward for facilities. But it has been, a lot of challenge to them also. We're not having the workforce, not having the funding, and having to do it. You can imagine implementing an electronic health record in a healthcare facility, especially in the rural, where maybe their IT manager also is the HR person and doing other things. And now they knew computers, they knew that type of thing. They were troubleshooted. Now they're responsible for putting in $1 million electronic health record. So there are many challenges, many benefits down the road, we certainly hope, but many challenges with the timelines. Next slide, please. This just gives you an overview of the high-tech vision. The funding opportunities are on the left that I just mentioned. Generally, adoption of electronic health record, meaning meaningful use, making sure those electronic health records are certified. There's a whole certification process that is being engaged at the same time as everything. Developing the health information exchanges within the states, and then also working across states. So there's a lot going on. It's a little bit crazy making, but it's also very exciting that we're moving forward and the intent and the benefits for us all in the future. Next slide, please.